One of the things I promised myself, or one of the goals that I set for myself, back when I first started my Redbubble shop in the beginning of this year, was to create seasonal artworks. Meaning I'd have artworks on the shop for all the 4 seasons, like spring, summer, autumn, and winter, as well as other holidays that people tend to celebrate. And I don't think I fully succeeded nor failed that sort of goal this year, since I wasn't really able to create a lot of seasonal artwork this year, but I did create some. And here I am showing some very late autumn and winter artworks, since life just threw a lot of things at me, mainly a lot of school things that really diverted my focus from my art and Redbubble shop a lot this year. Or just my art in general, you know? The first 3 designs you'll see will be autumn hedgehog designs, so autumn themed hedgehogs. This first one is of a hedgehog in a scarf, all bundled up, looking warm, cozy, and I think it's really cute, really. And I actually have quite a story, a small story actually, about the circumstance of when I was drawing each of these hedgehog designs and first sketching them out, but I'll get back to that a little bit later on. This second hedgehog design is, well, it's the same hedgehog next to a to-go cup from a fancy cafe. It's supposed to be pumpkin spice latte, but forgive me because I have not had pumpkin spice latte at all. I've never had a taste of that. In fact, I've never been to Starbucks before. Since there isn't a Starbucks in my area close to, like within my area in my town, there is no Starbucks. It's like a fancy, expensive cafe coffee place. I've never been there, honestly. So let's just assume that this coffee cup, to-go cup, this hedgehog is, this very tiny hedgehog is hiding behind. Let's just assume it's pumpkin spice latte. This third one is my favorite. It's of the same hedgehog again, on a pile of autumn leaves. And I used references for the leaves since there's no like the 4 complete seasons here in the Philippines. No autumn, so I used references just to make it all make sense. And by the time I was drawing this, I had forgotten if I actually put faces on these hedgehogs. So you can see here it has a face in the beginning, but I removed it once I saw the 2 previous hedgehogs just for uniformity. And if you look at it and ignore the oddly rounded spikes that I drew on top of its head, it looks like a frog. It's a froggy and I can't unsee it. So I know you can see it as well, you don't even need to look that hard, but it looks like a frog. But anyways, back to the story that I was mentioning earlier. I actually drew these designs while I was in a chemistry exam during the first semester, like the start of the first semester at school. I had this periodic table with me, a printed periodic table on paper, since I wasn't able to buy an actual periodic table at that time. And I got bored after finishing the chemistry exam quite quickly. So at the back of that periodic table, I started drawing random drawings, and I ended up drawing 3 autumn hedgehog designs that you are now seeing on screen. And I also planned on using the back of that periodic table as, well, a scratch paper for my pre-calculus exam, because that was the next subject after my chemistry exam. It was part of the schedule, really. And then I had realized we were told that we have to pass our scratch paper as well for pre-cal. Meaning if I passed it, I would lose both my periodic table and my drawings, so I just folded that paper and placed it in my pocket. Once I got home, I cut up the drawings and placed them on my sketchbook, pasted them on there, took pictures of it and imported them onto my laptop, and then drew over them to create these designs. So I came home that day with a cut up periodic table, 3 hedgehog drawings, and a failed pre-cal exam. I passed chemistry though, so that's great. But yeah, that was the story of how I, well, at the time, drew these hedgehog designs. I think it was a really fun time, honestly. And now we're getting into the winter designs. There are 3 of these as well, and they're all snowmen. Again, no snow here in the Philippines, so I've never built any snowman. I've never touched snow, like real snow. I can't build a snowman here, but at least I can draw some, right? And the main thing I wanted to focus on for these 3 snowmen are playing around with their shapes. Now I know they're all just circles and ovals, but what I mean by that is playing around with their shape proportions. For this one specifically, this was the 3rd one I actually sketched, but it's the first one I digitized, since it's my favorite actually. I think it's really cute. But its head was supposed to be bigger than its body, and it ended up turning a bit more equal to the body, I guess. But I guess that isn't an issue really. It looks really cute. I think it's like I said, it's my favorite. I think it's adorable with the big cap. This was kind of child inspired. Like I wanted it to be a small snowman compared to the other 2 that I drew. And what else is small than a child, right? So give it this hat that I used to see in cartoons a lot. I don't know what it's called, as well as that paper toy windmill kind of thing. I don't know what those are called, but I used to see them in cartoons a lot when I was younger, so I thought, let's bring that back. Let's put it on the snowman artwork. I think it's really cute. Again, I can't state enough how this is my favorite out of the 3 snowmen. I think it's just adorable. It's cute, it's small, it's tiny. I like tiny things. This is really cute. Now the second one is where you can actually see what I meant by playing around with shape proportions, because this one has a comically large head, which is the main goal for this artwork. Like this snowman, the only thing that was on my mind when I was drawing this was give it a really big head and a small body. In fact, I could have exaggerated it a bit more, made its body a bit smaller, but this is how it ended up. Its height is 80% its head and 20% everything else, including the hat. All of these snowmen actually have hats. Just the first snowman that you saw earlier wasn't wearing a top hat. It was wearing a cap instead. I also gave this second one a scarf. It's just a plain blue scarf that you'll see later on. I was thinking of whether to add patterns on it, but then it's either I wanted to go for something simpler and plain, or I was just lazy to add in a pattern, so I was probably just lazy. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about this second one, just other than the fact that the main focus here is just give him a large head. That's it, just have a large head. That was the purpose of this second one, was to really exaggerate shapes a lot, since I didn't want to stay within the typical snowman proportions. You see, with the head being smaller than the body. I put up some images on screen of what I mean, since I can't quite describe it properly, but just the typical snowman proportions and shapes that I usually see on TV or anywhere else. Because again, no snow. There's no snow in the Philippines. This third one is actually the first one that I sketched, and it's my I guess I wouldn't say least favorite, but I'm definitely not vibing with it as much as I am with the first 2. Although this is what I usually mean when I say the typical usual snowman proportions. I wanted to make this one a bit of a fancy one. I gave him a monocle, although for some reason I made the monocle smaller than its actual snowman eyes. But oh well, it still looks decent enough. I also gave him a top hat as well, just like the second one. And fun fact, I actually also based this off like a little bit on another snowman that I drew last year for a Christmas illustration and redraw. And the snowman in that particular artwork that I drew last year was actually based on an actual stuffed toy that my sister and I have. It's still laying around the house somewhere. I'll pop a picture up on screens just so you can see. And it's a snowman plushie with a top hat minus the monocle, so it's basically like this, except its arms aren't sticks and it's also white. But yeah, this was the very first snowman that I sketched out. One thing that I did like while I was drawing this was during the airbrushing stage, like this stage, I added some reds and blues as well, just so there's a bit more pop of color in here. And also the highlights. I loved adding the highlights on every single one of these artworks. This artwork is basically almost done anyways, so that was all the late autumn and winter designs that I really wanted to get out before the end of December 2023. So let's take a look at all of the finished artworks. You can get all these designs and artworks as prints, stickers, and other products in my Redbubble shop and my TeePublic store, which I actually have a TeePublic store now. But anyways, all of the needed links will be in the description below if you are interested, and all of these will be under my winter and autumn albums or collections. And since you made it again to the end of this speed paint, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.